Hello and welcome to this channel, Highly Sensitive Wisdom. My name is Susanna and today's topic is a continuation from the last video. So last video I recorded a quite personal video called Dear Future Husband, where I shared my criteria for selecting a life partner and what I value in life and helping my audience, not just my future husband, but everyone watching, how to get crystal clear on your priorities in life so that you don't waste time with people who don't add to your life. So I'll put the link in the description below to that video, Dear Future Husband. And this is continuation because my number one criterion for choosing someone is that he has to be vegan, like myself. So today's topic is how to transition to veganism in an empowered way. So I will share both resources in form of books, my own experiences, and some, things you need to know because we have been lied to massively when it comes to food and nutrition and our needs. I mean, physical needs, physiological needs for our physical human body. Yeah, we have been so manipulated and so lied to and so deceived massively. I will not go into great depth in this video. I will record another video on that, but you have to know that you have nothing to fear when you go vegan, when you do it in an empowered way, and that is what I want to help you with in today's video. But first things first. So if you enjoy this content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and also share your aha moments in the comment section. I want to hear from you. I want to have, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're learning. I want to, help you on your journey to elevate into higher levels of consciousness and to know what you need from me. Also, I need to hear from you. So thank you in advance for that. And let's get started with today's topic, how to transcend to veganism in an empowered way. So the first thing you need to know is that the only nutrient that you need to supplement with is vitamin B12. That is the only one that you cannot find directly in vegan food. And it's misleading to think that the vitamin B12 that only vegans lack that, because in reality, what happens is that in the animal industry, cows, for instance, they are supplemented with vitamin B12. That's why you can find vitamin B12 in dairy and meat products coming from cows because they have already been supplemented. So that is not naturally occurring in those products. You are taking the supplement indirectly through another human. I mean, living being, not human being. Yeah, we're not cannibals, but you're taking the supplement indirectly through another living being instead of taking it yourself. So, in theory, looking at it from that perspective, all human beings lack vitamin B12 and all human beings need to supplement in vitamin B12, not just vegans. So that's the first thing you need to know. All other nutrients, vitamins, minerals, protein, all of the things, healthy fatty acids, all of the things you need for your human body to function not well, but optimal levels of performance and to thrive. Yeah, go vegan because that is the most healthy thing you can ever do for yourself when you do it in an empowered way. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this in today's video so that I can share some of my experience from my 24 years of being a vegan and being very, very committed. And informing myself on an ongoing basis. Because as I mentioned in a previous video that is called How to Develop Discernment, and I will also put a link in the description for that video, I have like an antenna like this, I'm always looking for more information, useful information, and adding to the puzzle of life, of understanding how the world works, how human being works, how I work, as an individual. And learning more and more and more things. I have a very high intrinsic motivation for learning. And that's also what allows me to, put the pieces together and have a holistic view of things. And most people don't bother to do that. And that's also why I have a lot of insight, and that has helped me greatly to reach the state of enlightenment that I also revealed in the last video. But yes, I can officially say now, and I reached that state a few years ago actually, but I didn't share it publicly. So yeah, my energetic frequency has stabilized on a very high level. So I can officially say that in a stable way, yeah, I am an enlightened being. So you can trust what I'm sharing with you, if enlightenment means anything to you at all. Some people are very materialistic and don't care about that. But if you're spiritual, yeah, that does give a lot of credibility, because so few people go all the way to reach those very high levels of consciousness. And yeah, I also recorded another video on frequencies called Everything is Energy, Frequencies Explained. I will also drop the link to that video in the description so that you can watch that and understand energetically what I'm talking about. And yeah, I will record another video on how going vegan and staying vegan committed long term will also help raise your frequency. But that will be for another video, because otherwise this will be way too long. I have so many things to say, I have so many things to share, and I'm so excited to finally speak up, because I have been silenced so many times by so many people, including people who were important to me once. But yeah, they have kind of lost their importance in my life because they refuse to inform themselves, they refuse to educate themselves. They keep putting me down for their lack of awareness, their lack of understanding, and their ignorance. And I will not be silenced no more. I'm going from radical to very radical. Now I will speak the truth all the time. No one can stop me now. Yeah, so as I said, the only vitamin supplement you need is vitamin B12, and that's because, yeah, our food supply in the world has been so depleted of nutrients after the Second World War, and that is also a strategy from the elite minority group controlling the world to keep us in a state of depletion and, depletion and stress and like fear, diminished state. They keep us in a state of survival mode, so that we will we will be fighting against each other and waste a lot of energy and time on that, and not reaching our fullest potential because of that. Starting with the food we eat, because the food we eat physically will build our cells in our physical body. And that's extremely important to understand, that this is not just physical, because every cell of your physical body contains consciousness. So your level of consciousness as a being, an enlightened being or a human being or whatever being you want to define yourself as, depend directly on the quality of the food you put into your physical body, because you can never reach, in ancient times that was possible because the food supply was not as depleted as it is now, and the food was much more high quality. And for instance, what we call these days, we call organic food, because much of the food is not organic, it's poison basically. But in ancient times, there was no such thing as organic food, because all food was organic and all food was high quality nutrition food. So yeah, people in millennia ago, or even even centuries ago, they didn't have to care as deeply as we have to in modern times, in postmodern times, about food, because their needs were met, by the fact that the food supply was healthy, which is not the case anymore. And that's why, current generations living on planet Earth today, we have to be extremely careful about our food, because there are a lot of pitfalls, and depending on what you put into your body, it looks like food, but most things are not food. They're just food-like substances, and you're poisoning yourself without knowing it, and keeping yourself in lower states of frequency without realizing it, because you have been lied to so massively. I really need to record another video on that, because I see it so clearly now. I see it very clearly now. So that was about vitamin B12. All other nutrients, vitamins, minerals, proteins, fatty acids, all things you can get from a vegan diet. You just have to inform yourself and educate yourself properly. And a disclaimer here, I am not a dietitian. I draw from my own experience of being a vegan for 24 years. I'm very committed, as I said, and informing myself on an ongoing basis. And also, getting to know my own body really well so that I can draw my own conclusions from first-hand experiences. And I have a truly holistic perspective because I both have, the professional trainings of being a psychologist and being, formally trained as an energy worker, and energies are very tightly closed, tightly, I'll say that again, very tightly connected, very closely connected. That's what I want to say, with the spiritual realm, the spiritual world. So there are many different entries to becoming more spiritual, and for me, the entrance was through energy work and healing my own stuff from the past, and that's also been hugely helpful. To understand these things. Depends in what function you're watching this video. If you're watching because you want to go vegan, or you're watching as a potential client who wants to work with me as your therapist or your energy worker. I will also say that I am certified in the emotion code, the body code, the belief code. I have a website, and I will put the link in the description also if you want to schedule a consultation call with me. It's free, 15 minutes. And you get more information on my website and how I can help you professionally. So the main focus of this video really is about veganism and helping to elevate human consciousness and include the compassion for all living beings and not discriminate based on species. So what you need to do, and I think I have consulted a medical doctor once about nutrition who was vegan. And otherwise, I've done all of the research myself, before myself. If you do consult with a dietitian or a medical doctor or any professional who works with a physical body, to make sure you will be healthy long term and don't risk any deficiency, make sure you consult with a vegan professional, because all others are so brainwashed in the mainstream narrative, so they will not be very helpful. They will help you to doubt your decision, and maybe you will drop out, because you will trust their authority more than your own. So you need to be very selective also whom you trust, even though they have a title as a professional in whatever capacity. They are not necessarily as committed as you to being a truth seeker. So they repeat what they were taught in university or in whatever training they received. They don't necessarily make their own research. So that being said, I want to share a book that is very empowering when it comes to human nutrition. Shared it in the last video also, but definitely start with this one. Thrive, the plant-based whole foods way to staying healthy for life. It's by Brazier, one of my heroes. He used to be a professional triathlete, and for anyone who doesn't know that is an extremely demanding sports. A form of sports. It's very demanding, he has to be very enduring, and it takes extreme levels of stress, which obviously took a lot of toll on his physical body to stay top of his game. And now he's a coach, coaching other elite top level athletes, including Olympic athletes and other top performers in the world of sports. And he's regarded as one of the world's foremost experts and authority on nutrition for sports people. So you can trust his work 100%. Read this book and buy it, read it many times, and let the information sink in, and more importantly, implement what he recommends. Take action, because one thing is having awareness because you inform yourself, but that will not, transform you. Information is only transformational if you apply it, and you apply it consistently. So whatever you extract a value from this book, make sure you implement it, daily. or weekly or whatever frequency works for you, but do it regularly. That is how you will see the results for yourself. Don't just trust my word for it. You need to try yourself and see that truly it works. So this book has a very well developed program for nutrition for high performers. And obviously that doesn't apply only to sports people. That applies to people like you and me also. So he speaks about a lot of things that you need to know, and also he sees the connection that most people miss. For instance, I'll just share this as an example, right? He shares about the importance of the balance, the pH balance, like acid foods and alkaline foods. So what we need to do, we need to have as many alkaline foods as possible in our diet to stay healthy. Because what happens when the body drops below a certain threshold for pH balance, the body becomes toxic. And there are many foods that are acid, and most of those foods come from animal foods like meat, dairy, and other animal products that stem from animal abuse and animal cruelty. And also products that are highly industrialized, like white flour, like white sugar. Those are also toxic in the sense that they are very acid, and they will acidify your body. And one of the things that he explains in this book that is highly relevant to anyone who wants to be healthy is that acid bodies are, environments where cancer thrive and other diseases, but cancer is so widespread and so many people get cancer and they don't understand why. Yeah, because you have created a very toxic environment within your body with your food choices, and then and then the disease appears like surprise, and you're like, oh, this disease is attacking me. No, it's a natural, logical consequence of your food choices over time. So you need to, inform yourself. You need to be interested in what you're putting into your body. The body is the temple of your soul. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your body is temple of your soul. If you're serious about your spirituality, you cannot ignore your physical body. You have to inform yourself, and you have to take action on that information. Otherwise, you will never reach the highest levels of spirituality, because your body will be struggling so much with your food choices and other choices you make that you'll never reach the highest levels. So it depends how serious and how committed you are. So yeah, start with this one. Also, there are many books on vegan nutrition. I read many. This one stands out. This one is my favorite. And obviously, don't stop after this one. Keep reading, keep informing yourself, but start with this one because it gives you very practical action steps and also explains why it's important. So you understand not only what to do, but why to do just that. And yeah, if you want to be a high performer long term, you have to learn from the best who have cracked the code and who know, someone who knows, what it's all about, and who has done some of the processes of trial and error for you, so you don't waste time on trial and error, right? So start with this one for nutrition. Then I have another book, and that is the psychology of why we eat what we eat, and that is also really fascinating. So this book is called Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows, and it was written by Dr. Melanie Joy. She has a Ph.D. in social psychology. She's a university professor in psychology and sociology. So yeah, anything you want to learn about human psychology when it comes to food choices, she's an expert on that. So make sure you read also this book, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs, and Wear Cows. And just a fair warning that this book contains graphic language about human exploitation against animals and cruelty we commit against animals based on false beliefs and false assumptions. And yeah, this channel is for highly sensitive people mainly. So yeah, you are probably sensitive to that kind of exposure to graphic language of violence. So I just want to warn you before you start reading that, yeah, make sure you read when you're in calm state and you have time to digest the information, because some of the information will be very shocking if this is new to you. And I don't want to, shock anyone unnecessarily. I want to empower you, but I don't want you to just, be shocked and get depressed and stay passive because you get depressed. So I do want to say that as a trigger warning. But yeah, do read this one, because what you will discover is to what extent we make choices on beliefs and assumptions that are false. So Dr. Melanie Joy, she developed a term called carnism. And that basically, I don't have the exact definition, but basically what it means is that we discriminate animals based on their species. And yeah, we discriminate animals for being animals and not humans, in the larger sense. So it's all about discrimination, and that is arbitrary. And that means that, to the same degree we have, and we still discriminate human beings based on their belonging to a certain, ethnicity or race or gender or political viewpoint or religious affiliation, or so many criteria that human beings invent to discriminate each other. There are many, but the basis is the same. We discriminate, and that is arbitrary. That is not based in fact. That is not based in science. That is not based on, ethical principle or high, spiritual standards. It's all based on arbitrary beliefs, arbitrary choices. Ignorance is a huge part of that. And yeah, the animals truly are the most invisible groups in society, because they are so discriminated and so exploited and so invisible in society that we don't. I mean, obviously, I I see them as, living conscious beings, because that's what they are. But most people see them as just like objects or commodities, or yeah, like they are there for us and we can do whatever we want with them. And that's completely false. That is absurd. And for instance, I've heard so many absurd arguments over these last 24 years, and I'm still, kind of in awe of just how ignorant people are and how unwilling they are to question their own beliefs. So in like a few weeks ago, a person in church, she used the argument, and people who go to church, and this person has been in church for like 20 years, and is very active, spiritually, but she doesn't make the connection between human exploitation and torture of animals and, yeah, our own development as enlightened beings. So the argument was, yeah, but animals don't have a soul, so we can eat them. And I'm like, what? Where did you get that from? Of course they have a soul. Of course they have a soul, and they suffer like we do. They have emotions like we do. Not maybe the whole range of emotions, but some emotions they have. And animals have a nervous system that allows them to feel things and have sensations of both pain and pleasure, just like we do. So that is just absurd to say, animals have no soul, so we can eat them. That's the exact same argument that was used for centuries for enslaving African black tribes. That was a narrative, the exact same narrative. Oh, they don't have a soul. African black people, they don't have, or tribes, they don't have a soul, so we can enslave them, we can use them as objects, we can buy them and sell them and do whatever we want with them. And of course, that is completely absurd, completely arbitrary, and has led to massive tragedies, massive loss of precious, precious, precious human life. And so much, potential was lost because of the enslavement. And even though it's, prohibited in most countries these days, even though slavery still exists, unfortunately, of human beings, but, on paper, it has ceased to exist in most countries. Yeah, the consequences are still there, centuries after it was prohibited. Black people are still being discriminated and marginalized in many countries, and struggling much more than white people. And that's still a very tragic consequence of that kind of thinking, like, oh, they don't have a soul. Of course they do. We all do. So that is just absurd. So one of the things that Dr. Melanie Joy explains in this book is that one of the reasons why so many people fall into this massive lie, other than propaganda, of course, is that the animal condition is kept invisible. And because it's kept invisible, what we don't see, we cannot really have a compassion for what we don't see. And even there is a saying in Spanish that says, ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente. I'll say that again. Ojos que no ven, corazón que no siente. And the literal translation of that is eyes that don't see, heart that doesn't feel. Say that again. Eyes that don't see, heart that doesn't feel. And that's the exact principle here. We are being blind, and most people are being blind to the animal condition because their condition is being kept in secret. It's being hidden from our sight. So their condition is very invisible, and you see this both, like slaughterhouses don't have windows. They don't have, visibility, so people, there's no transparency around slaughterhouses. So no one except those who work there, they don't really know what's going on inside those walls. Because if people knew, they would be so shocked and so disgusted and so heartbroken that they would never want to eat meat again. Most people, because most people have some level of compassion and empathy, even if they don't have the very high levels of empathy and compassion that highly sensitive people have. Most people have some level of empathy and compassion, So if they knew, saw with their own eyes what's going on, yeah, they would also boycott these products that stem from abuse, violence, extreme cruelty against animals. And as a matter of fact, when I was more or less new vegan, like after a year of going vegan, I did visit a slaughterhouse with another friend who was vegan and her vegetarian mother. Just the three of us. It was a day like open doors for that slaughterhouse near my city. And it was more like, yeah, the workers there were really surprised because they were like, oh, we thought we would have open house today for the families of the workers, the employees, so they know what we are doing, during our days at work. They didn't expect, animal rights activists to be there like us. And yeah, let me remind you that at the time I was 18 and my friend was 21. And most people who worked there were a lot older than us. So they were like, yeah, what are these teenagers doing here? But yeah, we were animal rights activists. So we went there and we wanted to see with our own eyes what was going on. And, some of the images that I saw of the horror that I saw, those images are still, burnt inside my brain. And I cannot get rid of those because it was just horrendous. Horrendous. And yeah, it was too bad we didn't bring a camera to film it. We didn't think of that at the time. Many animal activists have a hidden camera to film the conditions, and then they produce documentaries with that material to make more people aware. We didn't think of that. Unfortunately, we only went with our own eyes to see. But yeah, that was very shocking, and yeah, that's also what convinced me to stay vegan long term, because I saw it with my own eyes. And you cannot look into the eyes of an animal in a slaughterhouse, seeing their fear, their panic, their horror, look into their eyes and tell me that animals have no soul. I mean, the animals were terrified and they heard the screams of other animals that were being slaughtered. So the animals knew that they were going to die. They knew. They are not like objects or, how do you say, devoid of consciousness. No, on the contrary, they are very conscious. And many animals have a much higher level of intuition than humans have. And animals have not been conditioned like humans have to numb themselves. So they are very present in the moment. And everything that they go through has a much deeper impact because they are so precious. I mean, they are precious, but I mean, they are so present in the moment, and they cannot flee from that, and they cannot rationalize like we do, like, oh, this is temporary, it will pass. later on I will feel better. They cannot do that. So they are stuck in the present moment. And if that's, the present moment is a horror movie, because it is in a slaughterhouse, they are panicked. They are horrified. They are panicked. Their anxiety levels, their fear levels are through the roof. And you will see that in their eyes and their behavior also, to try to take distances in whatever way they can from humans. But yeah, you will see it mainly in their eyes. Yeah, and I still feel heartache when I speak about this. And yeah, that was over 20 years ago. I still feel heartache when I think about it. Yeah, that was horrendous. But yeah, I needed to see that, to be truly committed long term of their condition. Yeah, there is a documentary you can watch. It's called Earthlings. It's been around for a few years. Yeah, and the Earthlings documentary is nicknamed the vegan maker, because but yeah, I need to give you a fair warning about that documentary also. That documentary is only graphic material from activists with their cameras filming the horrendous conditions of animals in many different industries, not only food, but also clothing and other areas where animals are being exploited. And yeah, that documentary is also horrendous, but yeah, watch that if you need to convince yourself. Because yeah, you cannot hide the truth. I mean, once you've seen the truth, you can never again unsee it. You can never again unsee it once you've seen it. It's so shocking, but at the same time so liberating, because that will be an entrance for you to wake up on other levels as well. I could never have developed this level of deep thinking, critical thinking, connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture, being a truly holistic human being with a deep awareness, and also that has translated into very, very high energetic frequencies. As I said, enlightenment starts at 700 on the scale of consciousness developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins, that I spoke more about in the video, Everything is Energy, Frequencies Explained. But yeah, once you start digging deeper, yeah, it's really a rabbit hole. You'll discover many things that you go, wow, I never imagined that this was going on, and it has been hidden in plain sight all this time. I just didn't know it, So yeah, if you are a true seeker, truly, I tell you, you cannot be a true seeker if you're not vegan. Because if you're denying that truth about animal conditions and how human beings exploit them and enslave them and feed of their death and their suffering and their panic, yeah, you're not really a truth seeker. Yeah, you're not. You're missing one of the largest pieces of the puzzle. So yeah, that's this book I wanted to talk to you about. It speaks a lot about the invisibility of, and not only in physical terms like hiding the slaughterhouses, but also in terms of language. We have a language use that makes victims in society invisible. We have a lot of language use that praises the victors and the ones who have power. But how did they get the power? In many cases, people in power got power from enslaving or oppressing or diminishing others. So we cannot all the time praise the powerful ones, because then we are also making the victims invisible. And there's no other example that is as clear as the victimization and invisibility on a massive scale of animals, because there are billions of animals each year being slaughtered, exploited, tortured, slaughtered, billions of animals each year. So each year that you are not a vegan, you're contributing to that massive, 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 massive suffering. And you need to really ponder on that for a moment, because your food choices have a huge impact, not only on yourself and your loved ones, but on the health of the entire planet. And in this video, I will not dig into the effects on the environment, because the video will be too long. But you need to know also that your food choices have a massive impact on the environment, and animal agriculture is the single most detrimental industry when it comes to environment. Even transportation, even airplanes that pollute a lot, they don't pollute nearly as much as animal agriculture, globally. So yeah, food choices are the single most important choice you will make, if you want to have an impact on both your health, the environment, your ethical standards, and raising your frequency. That's food choices. That's number one. You have to be interested in that if you're serious or committed in any way to your personal growth. That being said, I have another book. I shared it also in the previous video, so I'll not speak about it a lot, but I want to remind you about this book. It's called The World Peace Diet, Eating for Spiritual Health and Social Harmony by Dr. Will Tuttle. So Dr. Will Tuttle, he has a Ph.D. in education. He used to be a Zen monk. He's very, very advanced as a meditator. And he also, he started more or less a revolution with this book, and going on tours in the world to promote this book and opening the spiritual eyes of people and elevating human consciousness in a massive, massive way. And he's also one of my heroes. And I forgot to say, obviously, Dr. Melanie Joy is also one of my heroes. I forgot to tell you that, but obviously she is. So The World Peace Diet by Dr. Will Tuttle, and he's also a very talented musician, piano player. He writes his own piano songs, and if you listen to this in the audiobook version, you will also enjoy not only the content of the book, but also the beautiful compositions of his original piano songs. So you can listen to the audiobook version if you want to enjoy also the music. And he also has other he's also released other material more artistically oriented with his music, and not only elevating the consciousness. But if you want to elevate your own human consciousness, and that's my mission on this planet, is to help elevate human consciousness. That's the mission God gave me, the mission that God put me in this world to do. So this one is the single best book to understand that the spiritual consequences of your food choices and the collective consciousness as a human species. And I truly have not come across any book that explains cause and effect and tying the dots together more eloquently, more elegantly, and more clearly than this book. And this is why this book, The World Peace Diet, is my number one favorite on veganism, because if you're a truth seeker, you need to connect the dots. You need to see the bigger picture. And if you are a spiritual person, you also have to learn to connect the dots and see the bigger picture. So this book also will help you usually in seeing the bigger picture and seeing, because sometimes you will come across some resistance from people, and obviously not as much resistance now as 24 years ago, because collective consciousness has evolved. And when I went vegan, more or less I was shamed for being vegan. Now it's the opposite. Like, now there are people who would want to be vegan, but they don't have the strength to commit to it. But they I know that our food choices have an impact on the environment. I know that I'm suffering. I should do better. And then they feel ashamed for not committing. So the roles have shifted because collective consciousness has evolved, and thank goodness for that. But it's evolving too slowly. The masses are waking up too slowly. You need to wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. You need to wake up. I think this is a good start, these 3 books, and also the documentary I mentioned, Earthlings. And obviously I will record more videos on veganism, because that is my favorite topic in the whole wide world. And it has been for 24 years. And as I said, I will not be silenced anymore by ignorant people who refuse to educate themselves. And obviously there are many books you can read, many documentaries you can watch. And if you have a chance to visit a slaughterhouse in your area, if you can go to open house, kind of setting, yeah, that will also empower you to commit, because when you have seen it for yourself, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. You cannot unsee what you have seen. Um, so yeah, you need to be an empowered vegan. Also, you cannot only focus on the nutrition part, even though that's maybe your first priority, because yeah, you need to take care of your body, obviously. But you also need to prepare yourself that there will be some resistance from people, and you cannot take the opinion of people seriously in most cases, because they are ignorant, and they are willfully ignorant, because with the internet, all of the information is so readily available. uh, we have so much information at the tip of our fingertips, so there really is no excuse for not educating yourself. And most people who have opinions, or who will question your choices, or make you doubt if you made a good choice, they come from a place of ignorance. And I don't say this as judgment. That's just fact of the things. You cannot not bother to inform yourself and educate yourself and still have opinions and expect people to take you seriously. I mean, if you want an opinion, you have to be educated on a topic that you're giving your opinion about, or you have to have relevant experience tied to the topic you're having an opinion about. And like, if anyone asks my opinion about veganism, I have so much credibility with 24 years of experience and very committed all these years. If anyone asks my opinion about veganism, yeah, I will be, the expert in the room, unless I'm in the same room with these amazing, 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 brilliant authors. Because yeah, I haven't written a book on veganism yet, but maybe I will in the future. Uh, so yeah, you have to. That's also part of developing discernment and being a truth seeker, not to take most people's opinions too seriously, because yeah, they have no weight mostly, often. So yeah, so don't let, as a new vegan, don't let the opinions of people around you make you doubt your decision, even if they are loved ones and you respect and love them deeply for being who they are and for being important in your life. Yeah, you cannot listen to all of their opinions just because you love them. You cannot always adapt to their desires, or their wishes, or their to accommodate them, or to have a consensus. We have so much consensus in Sweden, like everyone has to agree, because we're so afraid of conflict in this country. But yeah, you need to separate that. Like, yeah, I love you because you are my fill in the blank. I respect you because you are my fill in the blank, family member, friend, or coworker, whatever. I love you, I respect you. But on this topic, on veganism, you don't have nor education or experience. So yeah, I cannot listen to your opinion on this, and I will educate myself. That doesn't take away in any shape or form your love and respect for them as people, as individuals. You can still love someone deeply and respect someone deeply, and still ignore their opinion because they didn't educate themselves on this topic. So I think it's time to start wrapping up the video. I could go on speaking about this for hours, and yeah, we'll speak on this topic for hours, but I'll cut the information in pieces, so there will be different videos and different angles and different takeaways, depending on what topic you're most interested in right now. But yeah, dear watcher, I truly hope that this was empowering for you, that you learned a lot of new things, that whatever doubts or maybe fears you could have about suffering from deficiencies, those are just doubts and fears coming from massive propaganda in society that deceive us, because in mainstream society we have a death culture, and that is on a global scale. The entire world obeys to this death culture, and that's also why killing animals has been so normalized. Their deaths have been made to seem insignificant, because we have a death culture. So we have been led to believe that we need to eat meat to get the protein. And that is completely false. It's completely false. There are many sources of protein as a vegan. I should probably mention a few of the sources because that's a common concern for new vegans. Like, oh, will I be deficient in protein? Will I be able to work out if you like to go to the gym or you're a sports person? And you might wonder, like, where will I get my protein? Will I be deficient? Will my muscles go weak? No, they will not. They will be stronger than ever because they will be more healthy. So again, I want to remind you of this book because this author can explain to you better than I can. Thrive, the Plant-Based Whole Foods Way to Staying Healthy for Life by Brazier. He can explain it much better than I can. So buy this book, read it, and that applies to all of these books. Buy them and not just access information on the internet, because in the future the internet will go down. That's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. So you need to buy these books to have backup in your home or in your office or wherever you store information, so that you prepare yourself for when internet goes down, because otherwise you will be lost. You will not have access to this information. So you need to buy the actual books in physical copy. That is very, very important. Yeah, I was talking about protein. Yeah, so some of the sources I use for protein regularly. Some of these sources I use daily. Some of these sources I use weekly. But yeah, they are an important integral part of my diet as a vegan. So beans, all kinds of beans, lentils, all kinds of lentils, peas. Now I'm not particularly fond of peas. I don't eat them a lot, but yeah, they are a great source for protein. Quinoa, there's a cereal coming from Peru and Bolivia. It's very high in protein. You have algae like spirulina, very rich in protein. You have seeds like hemp seed, and hemp seed is also really rich in omega-3, which is great for brain health. But yeah, hemp seed is really rich in protein. Pumpkin seeds are really rich in protein. There are other seeds as well that you can eat. There are tons of products made specifically for vegans where the protein content has been enhanced, industrially. And I don't really recommend to eat a lot of industrialized foods, because even if they are vegan, they're not necessarily as rich in nutrients as more natural food and organic food and food that you prepare yourself from scratch. So the best thing really is to prepare your own food. That way you know what you're putting into your body. And you can also add like a spiritual component. For instance, when I cook food, I listen to worship music and I sing praises to God as I'm cooking. And that frequency, that's a really high frequency of worship, will, kind of be stored in your food. So you eat not only the physical food, but also the spiritual and emotional components of your inner state while you are cooking your food. And this is also well known, that in monasteries, where people by definition are very spiritual, only the people who are the most advanced in their community are allowed to cook food for the entire community, because they are so aware of the impact of your inner state while you're preparing the food. So anything less than the top, level of consciousness while preparing the food would also be poison for them. So you need to also be aware of your inner state while you're preparing your food, and don't never ever prepare food while you're angry. Because if you prepare food when you're angry and you eat it, yeah, you will just feed anger and you'll be angry more often. Don't do that. Yeah, let's see what other sources of protein. Yeah, I said peas, lentils, uh, beans, obviously, quinoa, spirulina, seeds like hemp seed, pumpkin seed, like soy products, also rich in protein. Chickpeas, that's very, very rich in protein. Soy products, yeah, you need to be careful with that, because when I went vegan, there were not so many choices available as now, and for that reason I ate tons and tons and tons of soy products like tofu and soy meat and meat substitutes based on soy. And what happened is that my body got so tired and overloaded with soy products that now I can barely tolerate them. Not because they are bad in any shape or form, but because I have used of them, because I ate so many of them, like for 10 years. So my body is now like repelling soy products. Yeah, I do eat tofu, but like soy milk and those things, I cannot have them because I had too many of them in the past. So you need to have a balanced approach. You need to have a balanced approach, because otherwise your body will get out of balance anyway. So just because you have your ethical commitment and you want to raise your standards in terms of food choices, you can also not neglect your body's inherent need for balance, for equilibrium, homeostasis. So your body will always seek out to be in a state of balance as much as possible, all of the time if possible. So just because you focus on something with a lot of passion, as new vegans are usually very passionate, and yeah, very, very passionate. And yeah, I'm still passionate now, as you can see. But yeah, don't abuse any specific food substance, or like soy products, even though they are very readily available. Make sure that you use a variety of sources to respect your needs, your physical needs of balance and variety and diversity, so that your body will not be overloaded because of your enthusiasm. So that's also a tip I'm giving you, so that you can transition in a powerful way. Oh, I forgot the most important part. Yeah, this video will be really long. But yeah, what's important also is that when you make your transition, you cannot go too fast. And that's because your body perceives all of the changes as stressors. And that doesn't matter if it's a negative or positive change. Going vegan is a very positive change. And the long-term benefits of that, yeah, you can see. Yeah. It will rejuvenate you. It will give you more mental clarity. It will give you a better, how do you say, critical thinking. It will give you more inner peace. It will restore balance in your body, in your mind, in your emotions. And it will also allow you to reach very, very high levels of true spirituality. But you cannot advance too fast in your transition, because we are creatures of habit, and your body is the first to say, yes, I want more habits and more structure and more, predictability. Our bodies thrive on predictability and having the same patterns and the same habits, and that's why it's so difficult also to create new habits. There's a certain resistance to change, also because our bodies love to predictable things, and being in the comfort zone. So yeah, so this is a radical shift for you, especially if you are not vegetarian already. If you go from being a meat eater to being a vegan, yeah, and depending on your age also, obviously. Like if you're my age and I'm 41, then I would say probably a year, transitioning. Maybe more, depends on how bad your eating habits used to be before. Because the poorer your eating habits were before, the longer the transition will take, because the transition period is a detox of your system. And not just physical detox, also spiritual, emotional, mental detox. So yeah, there can be a lot of detox symptoms, and that can be uncomfortable. So be kind to yourself. Just because you want to be kind to animals, don't impose impossible standards on yourself, because that could create a lot of discomfort and stress and unnecessary detox symptoms for you, and that could make the process of staying committed long term more difficult for you. So yeah, as I said, if you're my age or older, I would recommend at least a year transitioning. So you go slowly at your own pace, and you phase out the products like meat and dairy and egg products, and all the derivatives thereof, slowly but steadily. So slower and steadily is better than fast and passionate, because yeah, it will be more difficult to stay committed long term if you go too fast in the beginning, because the detox process and the detox process will be so uncomfortable. So it will be more difficult to stay committed long term, because then you will probably associate veganism with discomfort. And that's not at all what I want for you. So slow and steady is better than fast and passionate. Okay. So yeah, start phasing out, whatever meals you can. Start learning to cook also. That's also great for truth seekers. If we want to know truly what's in our food, we need to learn to cook and prepare our own food, because otherwise we'll be dependent on other people and other people's agendas, and then we will not be as empowered and stand in our own powering our own strength, because we don't have no idea what we're putting into our temple of our soul. So yeah, also learn to cook for yourself. That is great for both staying committed with veganism, but also to stay committed on your truth seeking path and to reach enlightenment if that is something you want to reach eventually. So yeah, I think I should stop now. I have been talking nonstop for almost an hour. But yeah, let me know in the comment sections what you got out from this video, and make sure to implement what I am sharing here, because information without implementation is just information. Information with implementation and taking action steps, that creates transformation. And that's what we're here for, isn't it? We're here to transform and elevate our consciousness. That's why I want to help you elevate your consciousness. And that happens through transformation and not just passively listening to me speaking. Okay. So thank you for your attention, dear watcher. Let me know what you learned from this video. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. I will keep recording videos for you, and with more passion than ever before. So take care of yourself, dear precious, sensitive soul. Keep shining your light in this world, and together we are stronger. Bye for now.